All right, so this is going to be my first New England Patriots 2024 NFL Draft individual prospect video. I've done videos on quarterbacks, on wide receivers, groups of linemen to be looking at, but this is about an individual athlete. His name is Trevor Williams. He's a linebacker slash strong safety slash that star safety hybrid player that we like to have. He's from Sam Houston. He's 5'9", 210 pounds. He's a former walk-on. He's a four-time team captain for the Bearkats, and he led that Bearkats defense to a 2020 FCS National Championship where he had 15 tackles for loss that year. Now this season, he's already had he's got 70 solo tackles, 109 total tackles, and with 7 tackles for loss, 2 half sacks, and 1 INT and 1 forced fumble. All right, that's already, so he's got a few games left to go. Make note, right now, Trevor is top 5 in almost all those categories, especially in total and solo tackles, okay, in the FBS level. This adds to an impressive career of over 200 solo tackles and 400 total tackles. He already has his MBA, and he has an undergraduate in entrepreneurship. So this guy's educated. I've watched some of his interviews, and he seems to be well-spoken and just seems to be a nice, genuine guy. Now, on the field, Williams is very agile, looks to be very comfortable while in the box. Regardless where he's at in the field, he'll work to get to the ball, and he gets involved in the play. He can kill a drive with his ability to rush a passer and as a delayed blitzer, whether off the edge or through the interior gaps. Williams makes plays behind the line of scrimmage and will force running backs back inside where the backside pursuer should be waiting. This guy is amazing at running the alley from the deep. His big plus for me is his tackling. More often than not, he just won't go up there and go for the big hit and just throw his body at the ball carrier. Instead, he does a great job of wrapping up and rolling to the ground. Another thing is that he knows when to be a catch tackler or when he needs to be the one initiating contact on running backs. He has the size and the speed to cover both tight ends and wide receivers, and is a high-energy guy with a Swiss Army knife background. The guy is also just a team player. Last but not least, I think he has the football instinct and IQ to handle being bounced around back and forth between position groups like he has at Sam Houston. Now, talking scheme fits, the best fit for Williams is at the safety level, in my opinion, or what we like to use as a star position, playing as a deep linebacker or kind of as his box safety, or as a rover safety or a bullet safety, or whatever other hybrid defensive position you want to put the title on. I think we could put him in situations where he can match up one-on-one with receiving tight ends. Clearly, let him step up into the box to run the alley and help stop the run. Of course, that requires a reliable safety over the top, which we might, be able to get at some point. Now, yes, I don't think he'll be that free safety, or we should not be really asking him to step back and play deep man and cover one. That's just the reality of him. But if given time and coaching, he could develop into an everyday strong safety, or one that comes up on big plays all over the field instead of just being behind the line of scrimmage. Williams would be an excellent fit for the Patriots, who like to rotate their defensive backs and can bring Williams along slowly as a future starting safety or as a hybrid player. Yet, I still think he'd be operative as a rookie. Now, in terms of weaknesses, Williams is not a ball hawk and has recorded only, 2 interceptions at Sam Houston. Indeed, he's not a coverage guy per se, so he's not getting a lot of production out there in terms of turnovers. But you also have to say that Trevor's more of a linebacker in terms of his play than he is a D-back. And he's not going to be playing linebacker at the NFL level. So there is that unknown of whether or not he can play that star or strong safety position for New England. But that doesn't mean he can't. I think he's got the physical prowess to do it. Now, at this moment, obviously we haven't seen any combine or pro day numbers yet, but some of the reports have Williams recording a 385-pound bench press at 210 pounds. which, if you were to translate, would go into about 20 to 22 reps for the 225-pound bench press. That's impressive for a guy his size. Now, power cleans. 345 pounds. Again, at his size, that's legit. He squats 505, solid, broad jumps 910. Probably could be a little bit better there, but that might be improved over when he starts preparing for his combine. And his vertical is apparently 35 inches, which is solid. Again, something that could be improved during his combine preparation. Now, on the field, he looks to be around that 4.5, 4.6 speed. But I have his 10-yard split kind of in that 1.5, 1.6 area. So he's quick. Now, another thing, just by watching, his agility should be solid too. I expect the shuttle to be in like the low 4s and his 3 cones to be just below 7 seconds. So if we do the RAS, that's maybe like an 8. Now, the only thing that's really holding him down to be much higher is really his height for the position, because I put him in as a strong safety. Now, however, keep in mind, he would be about roughly the same size as Peppers out there. Peppers would have about maybe an inch on him, but then again, Trevor would have about 5 to 10 pounds on Peppers. So, just think about that. And that's probably a good comp for him anyways. Now, you're probably all thinking, why am I talking about defensive back? And, that I get it. We're not, it's not my first thing is to go out and talk about quarterbacks and wide receivers and offensive tackles right now. I want to talk about him because it's somebody we need to keep an eye on. Because I really think Trevor might get an invite to the Senior Bowl this year. So we might see another Marte Mapu situation where he goes from relatively unknown to being the buzz around Mobile in February. Then, if New England likes him, we might have to make a move on him earlier than we really would want. I would like to get him in day 3 or possibly a UDFA, depending on how his combine testing scores and bowl play goes. Now, why should the Patriots think about targeting Trevor? Well, there is a strong likelihood, and this is why I'm really wanting to focus on him first, is that there's a strong likelihood we are losing multiple D-backs to free agency. And we just lost Jack Jones. He's just got released. So we're starting to get thin back there, even though at the beginning of the season we were looking pretty strong. Now, the free agency guys were either they're going to get picked up by somebody else, or we're just letting them go. I think Trevor, with being kind of the Swiss Army knife, could be a solid replacement for Adrian Phillips, which I don't think we want to be doing a first day 1 or day 2 pick on replacing Adrian Phillips if needed. But there's also Jalen Mills, who's also playing a safety role this year. And then another guy that's very similar to this guy is Miles Bryant. Now, again, I'm not a huge Miles Bryant fan, but this guy's a little bit taller, much heavier, definitely a lot quicker, more explosive. So it's kind of like Miles Bryant's a good tackler, and he's very agile, and he gets in there and he makes smart. There's some things about Miles Bryant, but the problem is his physical limitations becomes a major issue. It's kind of like having a half Miles Bryant, half Julius Peppers guy out there. Again, just adding depth and also possibly replacing one of these guys. And that's not including if we have to think about Duggar walking. And then what happens if Peppers is out with an injury? And then what happens if Mapu just doesn't pan out at this level of the defense? You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of questions there. You got Phillips, Mills, Miles Bryant, Duggar, and Mapu. Like all these questions of, are those guys going to work out? And then again, what happens if Julius Peppers is out? There are some concerns there. Now, I think we need to try to get 2 or 3 defensive backs in the draft, or maybe just hopefully working out with UDFA there. But maybe Trevor can address 2 of those guys because of his versatility. Plus, this guy's a leader who's been a captain for 4 years. Again, the guy has his MBA, so he's obviously an intelligent guy. He seems to be like just a solid dude. I'm not saying we have to target him early in the draft. Don't get that idea just because it's my first individual prospect video. No, don't do that. But maybe day 3 or UDFA, depending on how he performs at going forward, I think we could, see someone who's going to, make a move on him, and we're going to have to as well. He's a smart player. He's a leader, versatile defensive player with solid fundamentals. I don't know about you, but that sounds like the perfect Patriot. All right, let's look at some tape. All right, watching a few minutes of tape here, not looking at schemes, not looking at what the defense and offense is doing. We're just looking at how he moves, right? Notice how he basically moves like a linebacker, but also like a D-back, right? We're looking at the potential to be a hybrid for our defense. And he kind of plays both the positions. Sam Houston obviously doesn't have him way up there and also doesn't have him way back for certain reasons. Like, look, he's kind of at the D-back level, but he's also not up in the teeth of the defense like a traditional middle linebacker. Again, I think that's because he has to play there for Sam Houston. But he can play both, and he moves like both. He has the instincts for both, I think. His IQ's there, right? I don't think he'll be a liability at either level. Now, I don't think he'll be a linebacker for the Patriots. Obviously, we have Defy and Bentley up there who are easily able to play with the linemen. And if those guys are clogging things up, he can easily come from the next level, run the alley or whatever, just doing some mop-up duty. He can take on tight ends, and I've seen him take on, running backs, 220-pound running backs at full head steam. He can take them on. He's got the strength. He's got the pop. He's got the high motor and aggression to do it, right? Everything you want for that guy at that level. Now, why am I highlighting him? I guess that's another thing to talk about here. Is if he's not either one, why are we looking at? Well, because we use those guys. The Patriots always have at least one or two of those guys on the defense. And that brings us to the next thing, which is, again, this free agent class. We're going to be looking at, in the draft, we got to spend some, draft capital on the offense. That's, I think, 100%. Even if we go after some big name free agents, you still need to look at the offense. But we're also potentially losing multiple guys on the defense. And it's not all up front, right? It's not all front seven. It is potentially, right? Miles Bryant, we don't know what's going on there. We got Jalen Mills is up. Phillips is up. Adrian Phillips is up. And, of course, Duggar's up. Now, Phillips and Duggar being kind of these hybrid guys who move a lot around the defense. Now, I'm not saying these guys, obviously would not be a perfect fit, a replacement for these guys right away. I think Marte Mapu is kind of in there to be a replacement for one of those two guys. So that's something to consider. But what happens if, say Duggar doesn't come back? So that leaves you with Phillips, Peppers, Jabril Peppers, and Marte Mapu back there next year. What happens if one of those guys get hurt? You see what I'm saying? And the thing is it might, all these what ifs. Well, a lot of what ifs happened this year, and now look what we got. Look at our cornerbacks. We thought that was going to be, that was probably at the beginning of the season the strongest position we had. And now, we have nothing against Sean Wade. I think Sean Wade can still develop. I still think that guy, and I think he'd be great at free safety if we can get him up there. Same thing with Bolden if we can get him up there. And now I think Bolden next year probably have to be considered at the perimeter at this point. But then there we go. And after that, we're talking, I guess Alex Austin looks pretty good. I'm impressed by him. Azizi Hearn, I'd like to see what he can do. But then that's just shifting up because all those shifts up, there's still holes now at the lower levels. We have to backfill in some way. I can't imagine I would have kind of an issue if we went back and signed all four of those guys, right? If we did sign Miles Bryant back, if we did sign Jalen Mills, and if we did sign Adrian Phillips, I obviously want Duggar to come back, but what happens if he's asking the world for us? What happens if someone gives him top dollar strong safety numbers and we can't really afford it because we have to go out and spend on the offense? Now that brings me to why I'm pointing out Trevor Williams as my first guy, because he's one of those guys who can probably, all four of those players I just mentioned can kind of come in and handle some of the responsibilities, if not completely. Now, I don't say I can't, automatically say that this guy's coming in capable of doing that. But the physical attributes are there. I think the tape does support it. And if you can get him, day 3, right, and even potentially UDFA just because of how deep the class is, that's a big win, right? And I don't see any red flags. Obviously, he's well-spoken. Seems like a solid dude. He's been a captain for Sam Houston for all 4 years. He's helped that team transition from an SCS to an FBS school. What else? He's educated, right? And the other thing is that he's gonna. We're gonna go back to this. I said this earlier in the video. At some point, he's probably going to get a bowl invite. If he goes to the Senior Bowl, or even the Shrine, or even the Hula Bowl, you have a whole basically a week of practice, which is where scouts are really looking. Right, the game is important, but you watch these guys in drills. This guy's probably gonna be told, yeah, you go try the linebackers, and then you're gonna go over the D-backs. You're going to see this guy probably in both groups. And if you have good scouting, good personnel guys, they're going to say, I think this guy might be able to do that. Maybe he is a star. Or a bullet safety, or whatever you want to call it. There's obviously different designations there, but all these different hybrids, which the Patriots like. Now, some other teams do like hybrid roles, but the Patriots love them. We rely upon them. You have to go find the very smart dude who has the physical attributes to do both. I think this guy is showing that you can do that. Now, other teams might be involved, but I think this year, not that last year was loaded at all, in terms of it, last year was empty. So if there is any teams that have been looking for guys who can play that hybrid role, there's a few of them, and I'm sure there's some more, like in this case, this guy's not designated, there's a few other guys that can be converted into that. But, like the guy, is it Deshaun Pace, who's, Ivan Pace's brother from Cincinnati? He could be in there. Carlisle's from Missouri looks like he can play that position. But other than that, there might be a few other guys that could probably play there, but most of the top safeties are either really good coverage, deep safeties, or they're big, strong safeties, but not really hybrid guys, not really guys that love to come up into the box or play at the line of scrimmage. I'd rather have the guy that I don't have to worry about pushing up into that area, the guy who's been comfortable there I'd rather have a guy who can play up there and then move them back versus back forward, right? I'm not going to ask a guy who's been playing deep free safety or even just at the strong safety level, right? Ask him if he's not comfortable, if he's not really a box dude, to really move up in there. You have to have a certain mentality, and you definitely have to have the fundamentals of being able to shed blocks and having the nose, finding the crease, finding the alleys, and get up in there. This guy could do that. So I'd rather see if he can move back rather than trying to go find some guy that can move forward. Right? And now there's probably some linebackers. There are some of these coverage linebackers that might be able to move back. For example, Marte Mapu's kind of in that role, right? Or in that, I shouldn't say that role, but in that, I guess, mold to be that guy. But we don't know if he can. And we don't know if, obviously, Trevor can. But instead of spending a third-round pick on him, let's see if we can get him late round this year, possibly UDFA. Again, don't take this as I'm highlighting this guy. He's going to be like one of the top, 100 picks that we have. Day 1 or day 2. Going to have to be day 3, possibly UDFA. But I wanted to point out, the guy seems like he's a solid Patriot. Hopefully we'll see him finish out this year. He probably is going to finish top 5 in terms of total tackles. Again, he's probably going to get a bowl invite, and he's definitely he's probably going to have a really good combine and/or testing. So name's going to come up besides from me, I'm sure. Just keep an eye on him, and it'll be interesting to see if he does make it to Foxborough. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.